A good day. I said good day. What's up, guys? This is Derek from Classic Game Room. It's Monday. It's Monday. No, actually, there's no dancing on Monday. There can be no dancing. Can be no dancing at all on Mondays. Mondays, like, if Monday were like a thing, I would kick it. I'd kick it and I wouldn't even apologize. Right in the face. Take that, Monday, you big dumb thing. In fact, you want to know how much I think about Mondays? Guess what review I'm putting up today? Because it's Monday. The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody for the Game Boy Advance. Take that, Monday! Actually, it's a good review. You guys should watch that. It's weird. You would think like it's just going to be a crappy licensed game, and it kind of is. But it's not as crappy as you'd think, and it's kind of like, it's like Zelda for babies. Really, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. It's a Zack and Cody game, which I guess is a show. I have no idea. But it's like Zelda for babies. And then Tuesday, you know, the game you've been asking for months. For months, I've seen it in all the comments. Derek, when are you gonna have this review? Well, guess what? I'm giving you what you want. I'm following the will of the people on this one. On Tuesday, I'll have the long-awaited review of NCAA Game Breaker 2003 for the PS2. Anyway, there's your programming update. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. And guess what? Since we didn't have much to talk about today, I'm gracious enough. I'm gonna answer one of your questions. And today we actually have a good question. This one comes from Fast Quick. He has all kind of good questions over in the forums, and he wants to know if you were at Nintendo, Derek, and you were running the Wii U, what would you do differently to help it succeed? You know, this might sound like a bit of a cop-out, but I've actually given this a lot of thought, and wait, I'm not sure what I would do. I'm not sure there's anything you can do at this point. And that's the thing. I think when we look back on the Wii U, and already looking back on it, boy, it's such an interesting console to look at. I don't think there's ever, in fact, no, there's never been a time in gaming history when the first place console of the previous generation was a liability going into the next. Which is to say, in every previous generation, you know, if you named your next console, you know, if you branded your next console after the branding of the previous one that was the #1 console of its generation, that was a good thing, right? The PlayStation was the #1 console of its generation, PlayStation 2. You know, that's an obvious branding decision. The PlayStation 2 was the #1 console of its generation. Obviously, you're going to continue, right? PlayStation 3. The Wii was the #1 console of its generation. So just, you know, based on that simple statistic and looking at the history of consoles and how they've gone, yeah, it's a no-brainer. You're gonna brand your next console as the Wii something, right? I think the Wii U was the wrong name. Wii U, I mean, that's just a horrible, horrible name. No one knows what that means. I don't know what that means. I don't even think Nintendo knows what that means. The Wii was the #1 system of its generation, but it only achieved that in the first couple years. If you look at the numbers during that generation, this is fascinating too. There was never a time when the first place console just plummeted during its lifespan to be the last place console for the last several years of its lifespan. And that's what happened with the Wii. It was overtaken the last several years, and it was like the last place console. It's just that it was so far ahead at the beginning that it finished still in first place. So you think, yeah, the Wii continue that branding. It seems, in retrospect, it seemed at the time like the right decision. I thought maybe call it the Wii HD, maybe the Wii 2, I don't know. But at the time you certainly thought having Wii in the name was a good idea. But looking back on it, and considering the fact that the Wii as a brand had been dead for a couple years, man, probably not a great idea to, I mean, the U and the vagueness of that was a bad idea. But I also think the branding of it as the Wii was probably mistake #1 for Nintendo. But actually, I think to expand on it for just a second, I think there are a couple other problems that the Wii U's had. One, I think the marketing has been awful and it's been off point. But secondly, I think there's only so much the marketing could do for it. I mean, how do you explain the Wii U in like a 15, 20-second ad spot on TV? Like, how? It's a console that, unlike the Wii, which was so simple, it's such a simple concept that everyone could see and immediately understand. The Wii U is complicated, and I try to explain it to people, but they don't fully understand it until they play it. And even then, they're hesitant to try it because it seems so complicated. And that's a total 180 from the Wii. And I think that's another that's sort of where Nintendo shot themselves in the foot. Not just the branding, not just the marketing, not just the lack of games, just sort of the concept behind it. They really just fumbled. The gamepad's a cool idea, but to try to sell a console based on that idea, it's really complicated. It's daring and it's bold, but they haven't had the software to back it up. I don't know. I think the only thing I could think is, man, you've got to give it the 3DS treatment where you just hammer it with games. You know, the 3DS started slow too, and I was guilty. I was among the many who thought, yeah, handheld consoles are in big trouble because the 3DS is just off to a horribly slow start. But then they hammered it with games, and now the 3DS is a huge success. They've got to do the same with the Wii U. Hammer it with games. Hopefully that's enough to stem the tide, you know, turn the tide a little bit. But, you know, I don't know. I mean, I used to think that the Wii U was going to end up being another GameCube. Third place console, but still comfortable and profitable for Nintendo. I'm not even sure of that anymore. I just, you know, but hey, don't worry about that. Just enjoy the games and let the chips fall where they may. And this thing about Nintendo being doomed, they're not doomed. They could lose billions of dollars every year for the next 10 years and they'd still be fine. Anyway, thanks for the question, fast, quick. Go watch Zack and Cody. Speaking of things that are terrible, go watch Zack and Cody. And I'll talk to you guys Wednesday. I'll have more reviews. We'll have lots of cool reviews going into the weekend. That's how it works. ClassicGameRoom.com. Do it! I think I'm gonna get a life-sized Hermione Granger stand-up for behind me for these videos. What do you think? Don't get weird.